Hey guys, we're back with part 3. Today I'll be finishing off this piece and then I'll show you how to tuck in your ends. I went into quite a bit of detail on what I think is the best way to tuck in your ends, which might be helpful for those creating another Macraweave project. So if you're here for that part of this tutorial, skip ahead to 26 minutes. I apologize again for breaking this project up into 3 sections. I had more footage to sort through than I had anticipated. Alright, let's get back at it. Okay, so I went ahead and undid the rope here to create this wavy fringe underneath the raya knots. And while I was doing that, I decided that I actually did want to add in 2 more raya knots on the side here. Just because I am keeping that space underneath the raya knots and up here as well empty, and I found that it was just a weird amount of empty space over here without the raya knots coming down, so I decided that it would look better to add those two, and I am liking the way that that looks, so I went ahead and did that, untwisted those, and so here we are. So I'm really liking how this looks. Again, the same as what we did up here. Once it's all filled in and everything, I'll go ahead and trim this section so that it kind of lines up with this row of the double half hitch knots. But when we go to fill in this bottom section, we can just push the raya knots up so that we have access here. The other thing I wanted to mention too, once we've filled in these 2 sections, you can just leave it and have these ropes hanging from the bottom. You can untwist them or keep them as is, or you can add another row of raya knots all the way along this row of double half hitch knots, so that you have an extra layer of fringe at the bottom. For this wall hanging, what I'm going to do is leave that layer of raya knots off. I don't think it needs it, but you're more than welcome to add to yours. What you do is just add them the same way that you added these raya knots and add them down here. It would add a little bit more color to your work as well if say you wanted to use that mustard rope again at the bottom, or you could use the natural rope and add that layer of fringe. Alright, so let's get started on the second last section here. For this little section here, we'll use the mustard felted yarn. And then over here, I'm thinking we could do another little section of cotton frizz. We'll do 3 feet of the felted yarn. And again, we'll go over 4 under 2 sumac weave. Okay, so I like that. Maybe I'll just add a little touch of the speckled string. I've got a little piece here anyways, so we can add that in. Okay, so now just for this little section here, I think actually I want to add a little section of the Sari silk just by itself. So I've got about 3 feet of the Sari silk. All right, so that's all for that section, and then we just have the one final section at the bottom. So I'll start with the 9mm string at the bottom. And we'll do sumac weave over 8 under 4. I'm using 6 feet of the 9mm string. Okay, I like that. I didn't want to finish that row because I kind of want to keep that space for another piece of material that we're going to use. So the 9mm string did close up this space here, so we'll add a little bit in here. And I'm going to do some yellow cotton frizz there. So let's do that first. So I've got 2 feet of yellow cotton frizz. And we'll do the sumac weave over 4 under 2. All right, so next we'll start filling in this section. I've got a 2-foot piece of the felted yarn. I want to add that just a little bit right here. Okay, yep, I like that. I just thought it needed a little extra pop of yellow there. Then I'm going to do 4mm rope across here and then fill the rest in with the cotton frizz ribbon. So I'll use 5 feet of 4mm rope. I'm going to go over 4 under 2. Okay, great. I like that. So I'll add in the cotton frizz. I'm going to add it at the top because I might add 1 or 2 rows of the speckled string in between. I just want to see how it looks first. We'll use 4 feet of the caramel cotton frizz ribbon, and again we'll do sumac weave over 4 under 2. Okay, I like that. And yeah, I do want to add a little bit of the string in here, so we'll add about 4 feet. And again, we'll do sumac weave over 4 under 2. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look. Ooh, it's so fun. I really like it. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I hope you guys like it and enjoy it. I'm just going to go over a few notes about tucking the ends in. I feel like a lot of people don't love to use glue guns because I don't know if it has this like cheap feeling to it or whatever, but honestly, in my few years of experience doing this, I find that a glue gun works very effectively if you use glue and you know how to put it in the right spot so it doesn't show. No one else knows that you're using glue, and it keeps your work really, really secure. So that would be my number one thing I use. I just use a hot glue gun to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And if you don't want to use glue, that's fine. That's okay too. I'll show you an alternative way to tuck your ends in. So let's start with the ends on the sides. I mentioned this in part 1, but I do want to mention again here. The reason why I wait to cut off my filler cords until I'm completely done is because I find when you add the fibers and the materials into the middle of your work, sometimes it can shift your work a little bit. So then you might have to adjust. So you might have to, let your double half hitch knots out a little bit to create a little bit more room, or you might have to cinch it in a little bit to create a little bit less room. If you cut this off, then you don't have the option to do that. So that's why I like to leave them to the end. Hang your piece up once you're done filling it in. Make sure that your lines are nice and straight on the edges. And then after that, cut your filler cords off. Or if you want to leave them hanging, you can do that too. I just find it gives a little bit more of a cleaner look if you cut them off. So to use glue, what I would suggest is separating out the last 2 half hitches, adding a dab of glue here, and then pushing those 2 half hitches together. So the glue will hold those 2 together. And then you want to cut your filler cord off as close as you can to that last half hitch. And then it will stay in place. I've never had an issue with that. It's always good to go. If you're not wanting to use glue and you'd prefer to tuck your cords into the back, I will show you how to do that. I'm going to flip the piece over and show you that. So to tuck your filler cords into the back of your work, what you want to do is take your filler cord, skip the back of the first double half hitch knot, and then tuck your filler cord into the second and third double half hitch knot. And if you pull it through quite tight, you won't really be able to see that your filler cord is being like kind of folded to the back there. So do that for all of your filler cords on both sides. And then now I'm going to show you how to tuck in the other pieces. Okay, so let's take these pieces for example. So you remember how I pulled all of the ends to the front? I just like to do that because when I'm working on the table, I don't want the ends in my way when I'm trying to weave my pieces through. So you have to pull them back through. So the easiest way again that I've found is with the hot glue gun. It's way faster, and it also I find holds everything together well. So what I would do for pieces like this is, so find the front, which is right here, add a dab of glue there, bring this piece over and glue it to itself here. So it just creates a loop around these middle cords. And then cut off the excess. And that's what I would do with all the pieces on the ends. I'm just going to tuck that back in for now. For the pieces in the middle, if you have 2 end pieces like this, so to keep it nice and flat with the glue gun, you can glue it right to the back of the filler cords, so the natural rope that runs through, cut it off here. Same with this one, cut it off here. Then for the roving, again, what I would do is glue it to itself, like you did on the sides of your work with the other material, with the rope and the string. So I would put a dab of glue there, take this roving, glue it onto itself, and then cut off the excess. Now, if you're not wanting to use glue, what you can do is go ahead and weave the ends back and forth through these filler cords. So you'd go under one, over one, under one, over one. That holds pretty well, but I find that what holds best is the glue. All right, so I hope you guys found that helpful. I hope that was fun. I'm hoping to do more of these sorts of videos in the future. What I'm going to do is take a moment off of camera to tuck in all the ends. Then I'm going to hang it up, take a few photos, and I'll show you guys the photos of the finished product. All right, so here's what it should look like when you have all of your ends tucked into the back of your work. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one.